this is China's plan to surpass America's nuclear power. Hundreds of new missile silos are rising from the Chinese desert, hidden behind military secrecy and satellite camouflage. Each one could launch a missile powerful enough to reach any U.S. city in half an hour. For decades, China claimed it wanted only a small nuclear force for defense. Now, it's building a nuclear empire at a speed no one expected. So what changed? Why is China suddenly racing to outbuild the United States in the most destructive weapons ever created? And what happens if they win? We'll uncover the blueprint behind China's new nuclear strategy. How they built hundreds of launch sites in near silence, how their new missiles can carry multiple warheads, and how this buildup could reshape the global balance of power. Because what's buried beneath the deserts of Xinjiang and Gansu isn't just concrete. It's a message, and it's aimed straight at Washington. Hidden in the vast deserts of Western China, an enormous project has been unfolding that even intelligence agencies missed at first. When satellite images from commercial space companies began surfacing in 2021, analysts noticed something strange. Hundreds of identical circular sites were appearing across Gansu and Xinjiang provinces. Each one had the same layout with a cleared pad, access roads, and what looked like missile lids. At first, many dismissed it. Some thought they were wind farms or industrial projects. But the pattern was too precise and too deliberate. And it kept growing. Over the next 2 years, analysts confirmed 3 massive silo fields in Yumen, Hami, and Ordos. Together, they cover more than 1,000 square kilometers and contain over 320 silos, each potentially housing an intercontinental ballistic missile. To grasp the scale, imagine a chessboard the size of a city, every square a possible nuclear launch site. That is what China has built. But this is not only about how many silos exist. Each field is part of a strategic deception system that forces the United States to guess which silos are armed and which are empty. Some are believed to be dummies. Others may hold training missiles. A few are almost certainly active and ready. The genius of the design lies in its uncertainty. If China loads even a small fraction of these silos, maybe 30 or 40, it instantly multiplies its strike capacity. And the United States has no reliable way to know which ones to target first. That uncertainty is the point. It is what defense experts call a shell game deterrent, a strategy that makes a preemptive strike nearly impossible. If you cannot destroy your opponent's missiles before they launch, you cannot risk attacking at all. The silos themselves are built to survive. They are buried deep under reinforced concrete, hardened against blast shock, and designed to reopen even after nearby impacts. Some are linked by tunnels and support facilities that let crews operate remotely or shift between launch sites if needed. And this is only the beginning. Satellite analysis shows fresh excavation work near older training ranges, suggesting China could add hundreds more silos in the coming years. In less than 5 years, Beijing has achieved what took the United States and the Soviet Union decades to complete. It has built a land-based nuclear network strong enough to overwhelm even the most advanced missile defenses. For Washington, that changes everything. The United States can no longer rely on striking a few known launch points. It now faces hundreds of possible targets scattered across thousands of kilometers, many of them fake. That means the cost and complexity of any counterstrike just exploded overnight. And inside those silos, the few that truly matter, sits a missile powerful enough to reach anywhere on Earth. Inside those silos lies the missile that defines China's new nuclear era, the DF-41. It is the most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile China has ever produced, and it changes the rules of global deterrence. The DF-41 is a solid-fuel, 3-stage missile that can reach up to 15,000 kilometers. That range covers every city in the United States, from Los Angeles to Washington, and much of Europe as well. It takes only about 30 minutes from launch to impact. But what makes the DF-41 truly dangerous is not just its range. It can carry multiple nuclear warheads, each one capable of striking a different target. In other words, a single DF-41 can destroy several cities at once. This technology is called MIRV, short for Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicles. It allows one missile to release several warheads, each guided towards separate locations. It also carries decoys that can confuse enemy radar and missile defense systems. The result is simple. Even a small number of DF-41s can overwhelm an opponent's defenses. And with hundreds of potential launch sites spread across China, there is no way to stop all of them. Unlike China's older DF-5 missiles that used liquid fuel and required long preparation times, the DF-41 uses solid fuel. That means it can be launched in minutes. It does not need fueling, it is mobile, and it can hide on trucks or trains until the moment of launch. Mobility changes everything. China can roll these missiles onto highways disguised as civilian vehicles, move them between shelters, or hide them in tunnels under mountains. Combined with the new silos, this creates a force that is both massive and unpredictable. The United States still relies on its aging Minuteman III missiles, each armed with only one warhead and deployed in fixed positions. The DF-41, by comparison, can deliver several warheads from a single launch and can move to avoid detection. In a contest of flexibility and volume, China suddenly holds the upper hand. Analysts believe each DF-41 carries up to 10 warheads, although the real number is likely lower. Even if it carries only 3 or 4, the math is stunning. 30 missiles could deliver over 100 warheads. 300 missiles could unleash nearly 1,000. And while many of the new silos may remain empty for now, they give China something just as valuable as firepower potential: the ability to rapidly load, arm, and expand without warning. In nuclear strategy, that potential is power. Each new DF-41 represents more than a weapon. It represents a shift in how China sees itself. For decades, Beijing viewed nuclear weapons as a last resort. Now they are a symbol of national strength, deterrence, and equality with the superpowers that once overshadowed it. This is the heart of China's plan. Not just to survive a nuclear exchange, but to command respect before one ever begins. By combining mobility, quantity, and deception, China is building an arsenal that can deter not only attack, but also political pressure. And to make that deterrent credible, China's leaders are changing something even more fundamental: how they think about using it. The next stage of the plan is not about hardware at all. It is about control, command, and the psychology of power. China's nuclear buildup is not only about weapons. It is about changing the power balance and showing that they are doing exactly that. For decades, China followed a policy called minimum deterrence. The goal was simple: keep enough nuclear weapons to survive a first strike and retaliate if attacked. That restraint is now gone. Beijing has moved to what it calls effective deterrence. It is no longer about survival. It is about control. China wants to shape its opponent's decisions before conflict ever begins. Every new missile, every new silo, adds political weight as much as military strength. In 2024, China made that shift public. The People's Liberation Army Rocket Force announced a long-range missile test over the Pacific and released the footage worldwide. That had never happened before. It was a warning. China wanted the world to know it now sees its nuclear power as a visible tool of influence. Behind that message is another major change. China is building a launch-on-warning system, allowing missiles to fire within minutes if an incoming strike is detected. Only the United States and Russia have had that ability until now. Reports suggest China's system uses new early warning satellites, radar stations, and even Russian cooperation to speed up detection. Launch on warning increases readiness, but also danger. A false alert, a cyber attack, or a radar glitch could trigger a launch before human confirmation. Beijing believes this makes its deterrent more credible. The rest of the world sees it as a risk that shortens decision time to the edge of panic. Despite corruption scandals and leadership purges inside the rocket force, construction and testing continue. That persistence shows the scale of commitment behind this transformation. China's nuclear power is no longer meant just to retaliate. It is designed to shape behavior, to make every adversary think twice before taking action. For the first time, Beijing's nuclear strength is about more than warheads. It is about perception, leverage, and global status. And that change may prove even more powerful than the weapons themselves. Their nuclear buildup is not happening in silence anymore. It is now part of a deliberate show of strength, a political signal aimed as much at perception as deterrence. The rare public test of an intercontinental missile that flew deep into the Pacific in September 2024 proves this. For years, China kept such launches secret, masking its capability behind layers of silence. But this time, it announced the test through state media, released footage, and framed it as proof of readiness. The message was clear. China wanted the world to see that its nuclear forces were operational, disciplined, and expanding, even as the United States struggled with delays in its own missile program. It was a calculated display, designed to project confidence at home and unease abroad. This timing was no accident. Just months earlier, Beijing's military had been rocked by corruption scandals. Several top commanders of the rocket force were suddenly dismissed under investigation. Yet the missile tests continued without pause. Even in political turmoil, the nuclear expansion never slowed. That continuity matters. It shows that the buildup is not a single project, but a national priority. Leadership changes, investigations, and purges have not derailed it. If anything, the public displays have become louder, a signal to both allies and rivals that the plan remains on track. Each test, parade, and satellite image now serves a dual purpose. Militarily, they validate new technology. Politically, they remind the world that China's nuclear modernization is irreversible. Beijing understands the power of visibility. A visible missile test rattles markets, influences negotiations, and reshapes how other countries plan defense budgets. Even without launching a warhead, it changes the behavior of its rivals. That is the point. To show that China has crossed the threshold from a quiet deterrent to an open declaration of nuclear parity. And as this message echoes across the Pacific, one question grows louder. If China is showing this much, what is it still keeping hidden? While China expands at breakneck speed, the United States is falling behind. For decades, America's nuclear power rested on confidence, the belief that its arsenal was not only the largest, but the most advanced on Earth. That belief is now being tested. The backbone of the U.S. land-based deterrent, the Minuteman III missile, entered service more than 50 years ago. It was meant to be replaced years ago by the LGM-35A Sentinel, a new generation of intercontinental missile with upgraded range, precision, and security. But the Sentinel project has turned into a warning of its own. Costs have exploded. Timelines have slipped. According to reports from the Government Accountability Office, the program is now billions over budget and may not be operational until well into the 2030s. Until then, the United States remains tied to missiles designed in the 1970s. It means America's modernization is moving slower than the threats it faces. While China finishes new silo fields and deploys mobile launchers, U.S. crews continue to maintain weapons older than most of the people who operate them. Inside the Pentagon, this reality has triggered a strategic rethink. For the first time, the United States faces not one nuclear rival, but two, China and Russia, each with a growing and modern arsenal. Strategic command officials now call it a three-body problem, one with no historical precedent. Deterrence theory was built for a world with two players. Now, every calculation has changed. How many warheads are enough? How do you balance defense between Asia and Europe? And what happens if both adversaries coordinate their pressure at once? America's options are limited. Speed up the Sentinel program. Rearm its submarine fleet with more warheads. Rebuild missile defenses once designed only for smaller threats. Each path costs billions, and each one takes time that Washington no longer has. China knows this. Every new silo and missile built in silence adds pressure on U.S. strategy and confidence. Because sometimes, in nuclear politics, catching up is harder than falling behind. Will China stop at deterrence, or prove its power in the one way the world fears most?